Hello everybody, intuitive and astrologer Lisa Salvatore here to talk about the triple conjunction that we have taking place at the end of this month, July 31st and August 1st, of Uranus and the North Node and Mars, all in the sign of Taurus. This conjunction is taking place at 18 degrees of Taurus, and this is a significant transit. It's already in effect, it's already operational, we are already feeling it. I actually talked about this in my previous video, which talked about the beginning of July up through the full moon in Capricorn, which takes place on July 13th. Today that I'm recording this video is July 11th, so I won't get into too much of what's going on right now in the moment because I've already done that, and it's a lot. But I wanted to focus on this triple conjunction of Uranus, the North Node, and Mars because I've been getting a lot of questions about it, a lot of emails, a lot of people are asking me about it. So I figured it'd be a good idea to just do something a little deeper on this conjunction and what this means or could mean for you personally, dependent upon where it is taking place in your birth chart, in your life, okay? Now, the thing is with this conjunction and with this energy of Uranus and the North Node, Uranus and the North Node meet up every 15 years, okay? And so their events, because it is attached to the North Node, the events that occur around these conjunctions are not just at the time of the conjunction. We always talk about this, right? It's a beginning of a cycle. So you may not see things manifest right away, or an event or circumstance may not occur right away. It could happen in small doses, and then 3 years from now something significant happens, but it's a bigger part of a 15-year cycle until we get into the next conjunction of Uranus and the North Node, which will then be in Gemini. So it's going to be a different set of circumstances under a different sign, a different energy collectively and in your chart, okay? But the last time that Uranus was in Taurus was between the years of 1935 and 1942. And if you know your history, you know that those were the years of the Great Depression and World War II. There was also a climate crisis. Unsustainable farming led to the Dust Bowl famine. Now, again, I'm not saying that this is all going to occur again under the Uranus and Taurus energy, but if you track this back and you think about where we are today and what is going on in our world, in our realities, it's not that far off the mark here, okay? Things do need to change. And again, let's look at the positive side. Uranus is all about revolution and wake-ups and shake-ups and change. So let's put the vibration of positivity towards these changes. I'm big into music, and I highly recommend listening to Michael Jackson's song, Heal the World, because every time I think about Uranus and Taurus, I think about that song because it's such a beautiful depiction of this energy. So if you need to hear something to put you in a specific space and really feel the energy of what we're experiencing as a collective, I highly recommend, and to give you a little bit of hope, I highly recommend listening to that song, Michael Jackson, Heal the World. Now, again, collectively speaking, we're seeing a lot of changes going on, and there's a lot of chaos and division and destruction in some form or fashion, and things are really, they feel like they're falling apart. And we have to do what we can do, like we always talk about, to keep our own vibration high, to keep ourselves in a better space. And from there, you know, we go inward, and from there it ripples outward, and that's all we can really do right now. So I want to just say that if you are a Taurus, a Scorpio, a Leo, or an Aquarius, those are the 4 fixed signs, you are definitely going to be feeling and have been feeling this energy. It's in effect for everybody, but specifically the fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. Now, if you're a Taurus, definitely feeling this energy because Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus since 2018. And if your planets or points or angles are between 15 degrees or 21 degrees of any of those fixed signs. So for example, if you have a Scorpio moon at 17 degrees of Taurus, sorry, if you have a Scorpio moon at 17 degrees, you are going to feel this conjunction because it's going to be opposite your moon, you see, because it's at 18 degrees of Taurus. The North Node, Uranus, and Mars are meeting up at 18 degrees of Taurus. And so therefore, any points or planets you have of fixed energy in the degrees I mentioned, which is 15 to 21, so figure you 3 degrees out on either side, you're going to be feeling this energy, and dependent on the planet or the place or the point in your chart that is represented by that fixed energy is where you're going to feel it. And then, of course, we take into account which house it falls in your birth chart. House representing the areas of life you could potentially see this manifest energetically. Now, in this video, I'm also going to go into by sign, by rising sign. You want to follow your rising sign because, long story short, the rising sign is the most accurate horoscope. It sets your chart system. That's how it's calculated mathematically. So without an accurate birth time, you're not going to have an accurate horoscope. I highly suggest you listen to your rising sign. That's how I will have it timestamped so you can go back and listen to that. But I do suggest you listen to the whole video because you'll probably gain a lot of insight from it and have a lot of aha moments, because there's a lot to be said about this energy. And, you know, full disclosure, someone is an 18-degree Taurus sun. So I'm a little like, you know, keep it positive, keep it positive, keep it positive. But, you know, it's Uranus. So I'm being realistic here. Uranus has been in Taurus and has been doing a number on the fixed people. So we know, you know, we're being pushed, we're being forced, we're being accelerated towards change. Now, everybody is feeling this conjunction, let me be clear, and for everybody it's going to take place in a specific area of your birth chart, of your life. So it's very, very pertinent, no matter what sign you are. I'm just emphasizing that the fixed energies, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, are really feeling this, especially if you're in between the 15 and 21 degrees of the fixed placements, okay? So keep that in mind. And when I say fixed placements, that's the sun, the moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, the North Node, the midheaven, and anything very personal in the chart is going to feel the bumping up of this conjunction that much stronger. Now, I want to go a little further with the 18 degree because the significance of degrees in astrology are very important. We talk about this all the time, which is why accurate birth charts are necessary to really get the most accurate picture for events and for obviously somebody's birth data, somebody's birth chart. But the 18th degree is the degree that this conjunction is taking place. The North Node, Uranus, and Mars are all at 18 degrees. Now, I am not a doom and gloom astrologer by any sense of that word, those words, and I do always try to find the good, the hope, the sliver of possibility in the more less than stellar transits and energies that we all carry within our charts, because we all have them, okay? And a lot of times they're very negative, there's very negative meanings and depictions of specific aspects that we carry in our birth charts and when we have specific transits that occur. And it can sometimes lead you down a bad rabbit hole, spiraling, thinking something negative, and the body, the mind, the soul, the spirit hears and feels everything, every fiber of our being. And so when we feed fear by something that we read or we hear, or words or phrases from others, or through reading on the internet, whatever it may be, we hold that, it's energy. And so what happens is it's almost like you can create a false self-fulfilling prophecy and bring negativity into your space by constantly focusing on it. And even though you're thinking that you're vibrating at a place of, I don't want this to happen, you know, what is the saying? Where attention goes, energy flows, right? And so the more we focus on it, the more we can attract it and actually bring that into our reality. Now, I'm not saying that that's easy, but this is why I don't typically subscribe to the doom and gloom astrology theory. And I'm going to give you my personal example for this. I'm going to get personal here because I feel like it's necessary. So there's many reasons I started to study astrology. And none of them were because I was like, oh my God, I feel fantastic. It wasn't like that. It was more just like, why do I feel this way? Is there something wrong with me? It doesn't seem like anyone else is picking up the same stuff I am. What's up with that? Blah, blah, blah. Led me down a rabbit hole. But when I stumbled upon the critical degree theory, it sent me down into a tailspin. And I was convinced that I was going to die this horrible early death by what I was reading on the internet. Now, I have a lot of respect for fellow astrologers. I truly, truly do. And there is a Serbian astrologer named Nikola Stevanovic, okay? And you can Google him. I'll put his name down here below. But he has this whole studies that he's done over the years about the degrees in the birth charts and the significance of the degrees and what they mean. And the 18th degree does not get a very good reputation. It technically falls under the Virgo Mercury decan, which you can read about this if it interests you. But I'm bringing this up because, like I mentioned, I have an 18-degree sun, and the sun is the central focus of your chart. I also have other critical degrees he talks about at length, but I'm not going to talk about those here because we're sticking to the 18th. So because of that, I researched and researched and researched all that I could absorb about this because I needed to know, right? Because the control freak in me was like, I'm going to figure out this out as best as I can so I can avoid it, right, or escape it. And the one thing that I realized was that that degree speaks to illness, it speaks to death, it speaks to evil, it speaks to health, and it speaks to service as well. But it's considered an evil degree, right? Like something evil is going to happen to the native, to the person who holds this degree in accordance to the planet that falls at that 18th degree, right? And so for me, the sun is like you, it's your, it's your true essence here. So of course, as you can imagine, that would lead me down this spiral. So anyway, years and years and years of researching this. And I will say this, I have seen it play out in my life, but not the way like of knock on wood, of these horrible manifestations, but I can see how the less than stellar aspects of that 18th degree have played out in my chart, in the places in my chart, and in the aspects they're making to other planets. And I won't go into too much detail about that. But again, if you're interested in more about this, comment. I will do a special video for certain people, or I'll do a little workshop or something, because there's so much to be said about these degrees. And the reason why I bring this up is, again, not to be doom and gloom, but if the 18th degree is in fact truly associated with evil, illness, health, healing, service, crises, things of that nature, and we're talking about Mars at 18 degrees, Mars rules over many things, but surgical instruments, the military, war, hello, these are all things Mars rules over, okay, in Taurus right now at 18 degrees. And then we've got Uranus at 18, and we know what Uranus rules over, right? This is unexpected things, this is shakeups, this is shakeouts, breakouts, breakthroughs, destruction in some circumstances, weather destruction, weather disruption. Also, Uranus is the internet, okay? Uranus is online, glitches, the towers, things of that nature. And then we've got the North Node at 18, and the North Node is destiny. It is the karmic, as we say, the karmic calling of the truth, of the soul. So all of these are at that 18th degree, at this critical degree. And if you are bored and want to look more into this, go and research what has happened in the world when planets were at the 18th degree. You'll find some good material. Again, I'm not on board with a lot of it because I think there's sometimes where it's being stretched to make it fit, but in this case though, it's the 18th degree. So are we going through a healthcare crisis right now? Yes. Are we seeing a lot of illness? Are we seeing a lot of death through a pandemic and, other things of that nature? Yes, absolutely. The 6th house is the house that Virgo rules over, and this is considered the Virgo degree, which is why I'm bringing this up. The 6th house is what Virgo rules over, and the 6th house is also healthcare, it's healing, it's service, it's hospitals. So, we could see how this could fit, but let's not forget that it's also a degree of supposed evil, okay? Again, I don't really feel, and I hope that I'm right, I don't really feel that we're gonna see like infernos everywhere. God, I hope not. But, again, this could be like explosive events that happen emotionally, right? Or to maybe to the healthcare system, which we've already seen a lot of disruption there. So this could be where it really manifests. It could be none of that at all. Again, bringing it up because it's that 18th degree, and I myself have done a lot of research on it because I have personal experience with it. But if you want to research that further, go for it. This conjunction's already operational. It's already in effect as we were speaking about this today. On July 31st, I feel like I'm skipping a lot of July, but I'm going to do a separate video about Leo season and the new moon because I just want to focus on this conjunction because there's a lot to say. So, July 31st, Uranus is going to be at 18 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus is going to meet up with the North Node at 18 degrees of Taurus. Now, this is the significance. First, to understand that, we must understand the significance of the planets, of their vibration, what they represent, not just astrologically, but more on the spiritual level, what they represent for us in our real-time life, right? Like what these planets represent for us. So let's start with Uranus first. Uranus is out there, literally. It's an outer planet. It's out of the bounds of Saturn. You can hardly ever see Uranus with the naked eye. Depending on where you live, you can faintly. You gotta have your telescope. Uranus operates in the solar system, in the cosmos, to the beat of its own drum, okay? It dances to its own tune, Uranus. And so wherever Uranus falls in our chart shows that little dose of individuality, okay, that Uranus represents. One of the key words for Uranus is individuality, okay? Also freedom and also liberation. Those are 3 key words for Uranus, and there's many. So as a planet, that's what Uranus represents. And in our birth chart, that shows where we have the ability to experience that Uranian energy. Now, that doesn't mean that you're always going to utilize it, because we have to take the whole chart into account. This is just the energy that that planet is vibrating at in your birth chart, okay? Now, collectively speaking, Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018 and will be until 2026. Taurus, the sign of Taurus, is very focused on stability, security, and safety, and being grounded and rooted in reality, okay, down to earth, however you want to say it. It's an earth sign. And so while Uranus has been in Taurus, the sign of fixed earth, the circumstances surrounding our planets, Mother Earth, have been amplified tremendously, where we're seeing how the system is broken and has been broken for quite some time. And how do we build it back up, right? So on the one hand, positively speaking, Uranus and Taurus is a good thing, because it's forcing this revolution of what is going on our planet, with our planet, okay? But at the same time, because it's in a sign that doesn't do well with quick and unexpected change, it's been a bit of a back and forth energy, because Taurus doesn't like to be forced into change, and Uranus is the lightning bolt that clears the path. And in fact, Uranus is known as the god of lightning, the god of thunder. Uranus represents the higher mind. It's a higher octave of the planet Mercury, where Mercury represents our lower mind, our basic cognitive abilities, our thinking, our speaking, our processing of information. Uranus represents the higher mind. It's the flashes of intuitive insight that we get, those zany thoughts and feelings that come through, the intuition. That's how Uranus operates. So it doesn't ever, if ever, make sense. It just is. The job of Uranus is to clear a path. And oftentimes, it's by way of destruction, disruption, chaos. In fact, you know, the tarot card, I'm bringing the tarot into this. The tarot card, the Tower, is ruled by Uranus and Mars. And we're going to get to why that's even more significant, because Mars is factored into this conjunction. I'm jumping ahead. But Uranus, look at this card. It's the lightning bolt that strikes the watchtower, and the people are falling out, no clue, no warning. It just is. It's not a pretty card. It is a card of, you know, potential catastrophe and destruction, but at the same time, oftentimes, without that lightning strike, you would not clear the path. And the universe or the divine or the cosmic forces, or however you want to say it or look at it, have a plan for you that you yourself, at the soul level, agreed upon, signed up for before you incarnated here again, okay? So think about that from a deeper way. When we deny what we know we need to do to be living into our full authenticity and truth, and to be an individual, which is the key word for Uranus, okay? When we know deep down at the soul level that there's more to it and we're not doing it for whatever the reason, and there's no judgment attached to that, there's often very logical reasons why we can't do or we won't do certain things. Well, that's when Uranus comes through and says, okay, time to flip your world upside down. And I can tell you time and time again with the many people that I've worked with, when it comes to Uranus, when they go through something where Uranus wipes something away out of their life, okay? When they go back and we talk about it again in retrospect, they will always say, I wouldn't change a thing. It sucked. I went through it. It was horrible. I was depressed, whatever the case may be, but it liberated me. And now I feel free. And I wouldn't have done it otherwise. I wouldn't have left that bad marriage. I wouldn't have left that toxic job. I wouldn't have dropped that friendship, whatever it is, if that didn't happen. So that's where Uranus, the true meaning of the freedom and the liberation, comes in. But again, a lot of times it comes in by way of destruction. Now, Uranus also rules over electricity, and so there's something very electrifying about the Uranian energy. It zaps you, it jolts you. It's awake a lot of times where you've been asleep. And so there's a lot of positive connotations to this, and I don't want you to think that this conjunction is negative. It certainly can be, because anything can be, right? But I want you to think of it as a bigger picture, something that needs to happen to bring you forward on your truest destiny, because it's attached to the North Node. Now, the North Node is in the sign of Taurus and has been since January of this year and will be until July of 2023. Again, if you want to know more about that nodal axis and the Taurus and Scorpio, I've linked a video I did months back below. You can check that out. But bottom line is, again, Taurus is concerned with safety and security and truth, really. And so having the North Node there is where we're moving towards. So this conjunction of Uranus and the North Node at 18 degrees of wherever it's falling in your chart is asking you to look at this area of life and really ask yourself, am I living in my truth? Am I living out of my truth? Is this authentic to me? Is this the same as it's been? Is it authentic to me any longer? Am I holding on to this because I feel like I have to, or I just can't let it go, or I'm scared, or whatever it is? Be really honest with yourself. And it's not easy to do that, okay? But this is where the shakeup can occur. Now, again, the Uranus and North Node conjunction is going to show you, by way of a quick flash of insight or something that you need to do, that this is where you need to go to grow. This is where your soul is trying to reroute you to. And if it's been knocking for quite some time and you're not answering that door, again, fear, for whatever the reason, it might be more difficult if you're in denial, whatever the case may be. It might be more difficult with this conjunction because it will blindside you even though you know it's coming, if that makes sense. And so that's the thing. That's why I say get real with this area of your life, of your chart, where this conjunction is taking place, to see how could this potentially pan out for you, best and worst case scenario. That's probably a really good way to look at this. Now, again, remember, the North Node is no small feat. It's not a planet, it's a calculation, okay? It's a point. But it's a very strong point of destiny. It's the growth of your soul. It's what you karmically signed up for. It's where you go to grow. And when Uranus jolts that North Node, it's gonna say, okay, Marty, I just made that up. Okay, you're not on your path. Boop, we're gonna take you there. And you know what? The way it gets you there might be by the lightning strike. Not literally, it certainly can be, hopefully it won't be. But you will get a flash, and that will be quick because Uranus doesn't operate slowly. It's not Pluto. Uranus is boom. Uranus will not take down a structure that is firm and secure, okay? Remember that. Uranus will destruct and disrupt what's not working, the faulty power lines, okay? That is what Uranus takes down. Because again, when we're truly honest with ourselves, we know what we need to feel liberated and why we are not feeling like that, okay? We know that deep down at the soul level. And the more you sit there and dig into it, the more truthful you can be. And this might not be a big, huge change. For some, this could feel very psychological. It doesn't have to be something physical. For others, it might be something very physical, mental. It's going to be different for everyone. But I just want to stress that whatever it is that comes up under this energy, the ultimate purpose of it is to bring you toward your true purpose and to help you to release and to shed baggage that you don't need to continue to take with you. Because remember, the South Node is in Scorpio, opposite that North Node in Taurus. And the South Node is saying, let some stuff go. Unpack these bags, psychological bags, spiritual bags, the stuff you're carrying with you that is no longer serving you, that you know you need to let go of. Unpack them. Because if you don't do it, we're gonna do it for you. So just be mindful of that, because that is how Uranus works, and the North Node is the destiny of the soul. And so these two are coming together exactly on July 31st at 18 degrees of Taurus, but again, they're moving closer and closer together. As we speak, Uranus is at 18 degrees of Taurus and the North Node is at 20. The North Node always moves in a retrograde motion, so it's going to go back to 18. So the North Node's actually going to get to Uranus. Okay, again, exactly on July 31st, but this is something that's already in effect and it will continue to grow as we get closer and closer and closer to July 31st. Now, I'm gonna be real with you guys. From this point, and I said this in my last video, from this point in July until about the 2nd or 3rd week of August, and this is not to scare you into thinking anything bad's going to happen, I'm just gonna say this, and especially if you're in fixed energy around the degrees we talked about, be very, very cautious, extra cautious, I should say, of your surroundings, of what you're doing, of the way you're moving your body, of the way you're driving your vehicle, because it's a frenetic energy, okay? And we can't outsmart fate, right? we can't, but we also don't want to tempt it. So anyway, if that hits you in your solar plexus, if you feel it, if you feel like, oh my gosh, that's me, a little extra caution. But for everybody, I think it's a really good time to go inward and do some soul work and take really good care of your physical body. This is not the time to run yourself ragged. This is not the time to beat up your body in any capacity. This is the time to get extra sleep if you can, to try to do what you can do to quell your anxiety, because there's a lot of anxiety right now, and Uranus also rules over the nervous system. And so when Uranus comes to town like this, it jolts your nervous system. It literally can. Like, you can sometimes feel what I call like the Uranian buzz, where you're like, bzz, like you're electric, you're buzzing. That's how Uranus can work. So again, it delivers jolts to the system. And Uranus also can have you depleting your minerals and your nutrients. So make sure you're keeping up with your electrolytes and any supplements that you might be taking. I'm a big fan of adding Celtic sea salt to my water first thing in the morning. Very little, I do like an eighth of a teaspoon. It's just to get natural electrolytes, and I do it after I work out as well, because it helps me feel better. So, and I don't like to take a lot of stuff, so for me that's good. And I also am a fan of Liquid Light by Sun Warrior, which is basically fulvic acid. You can research it. I get it on Amazon. But point being, if you're resonating with what I'm saying and you're feeling that energy, like, go check your chart if you don't already know. Because maybe this is hitting you and you're like, wow, I'm an 18-degree Scorpio sun. So yeah, that conjunction is going to be opposite your sun. You're going to feel it. So again, this is how this conjunction operates. Now, positively speaking, in the most highest vibration possible, it can be beautiful, amazing, and wonderful, and it can take you to a place you never dreamt you could go to by way of your own acknowledgement of what is being shown to you and what you're feeling. So this can also be an amazingly liberating conjunction, a liberating time for you, a liberating transit that takes you to your highest calling, okay? So we're gonna keep it in that vibration, right? Let's keep it in that vibration. Now, when we get to August 1st, now this is where I will always say the caution piece, and you've heard me talk about this before if you follow me, because Mars comes into the mix. Now let's talk about Mars. Mars is a whole nother animal, right? Mars entered Taurus on July 4th. Now, I wanna mention that the last time that Mars was in Taurus, because Mars tours each sign every like year and a half or so, so 2 years. So the last time that Mars was in Taurus, Mars entered Taurus on January 6th of 2021. Now, I'm sure you know what that date was. That's the day that the US Capitol was stormed. And what I always find so interesting and so literal about that is that one of the photos that was circulating around that day was actually a person who had stormed the Capitol literally in red, white, and blue garb with bullhorns, which is the symbol for Taurus. How literal could that be for the entrance of Mars in Taurus? And that happens. Now here's the thing about Mars when Mars is in Taurus. So Mars coming out of Aries is the fighter. Mars is like ready to go, ready for war, ready to charge. When Mars gets into Taurus, Mars is still a fighter, but Mars is a more methodical fighter, because that's how Taurus operates. Taurus is more methodical. It is hot-headed, but not as frenetic as Aries. So when Mars goes into Taurus, it's like, okay, let's plot this. Let's make sure that we're gonna win this battle, because I've got the goods and I'm gonna win the battle. That's Mars in Taurus. If you are a Mars in Taurus, you know very well how that operates, because Mars is the planet of our will, it's our drive, it's our aggression, it's our energy. In its highest vibration, Mars is all about our courage, our assertion, our ability to take action, determined action at that, its direction and its effort. It's also our sexuality. Now, on the other side, Mars also represents war, fighting, aggression, conflict, and strife, okay? Mars is feisty, Mars is hot. Mars is that little red planet that the ancients feared, and every time Mars moved, they trembled because they knew that something was coming when Mars was active, okay? That's why he's known as the red hot planet, the god of war. Now here's the thing that I always find fascinating about Mars, and I won't go too deep into this, but Mars is technically the first planet beyond the Earth's orbit. Mercury and Venus are closer to the center. They never appear too far from the sun. But Mars, on the other hand, is kind of independent and can go where he pleases. And so Mars is also the planet of freedom and independence, and self-determination, okay? Mars is our instinct to take action, to fight for better or worse. Now, is it a killer instinct or survival instinct? Who knows? But this is how Mars operates, right? We all have a Mars. So again, you probably want to look at where your Mars falls and what sign is it in, more importantly, because that would be how you take action or do not. But again, Mars in Taurus is a concentrated, determined effort. But Mars in Taurus will fight, okay? Have you ever seen a bull charge? Okay, that's the way that Mars in Taurus works. Imagine that. Now, taking it back to Uranus. Uranus is also about independence, freedom, but more importantly, it's about unpredictability, okay? Now, Uranus and Mars are involved in this conjunction, 18 degrees, okay? So think about it this way. On August 1st, Mars is going to get to the North Node, and then it's going to move to Uranus. Now, when Mars and Uranus meet up, and I've talked about this many times, that is an accident-prone energy. That is explosive. That is something that can ignite. Think about this Uranus-North Node conjunction already in effect, and then Mars is like the gas that gets poured on the fire, okay? That is how this operates. And Mars and Uranus by themselves are often indicative of impulsive energy, hasty energy that can get us in trouble. And that's why I always issue the caution with Mars and Uranus when we're dealing with that energy. Be a little extra cautious driving, because remember, everybody feels this energy. It's not just you or me, it's everybody. And it's operating differently for everybody. So we just don't know. So we need to be extra conscious of our own actions, of our own soul, so that we can at least do our part, right? But this is just, it's a lot, okay? And so I'm going to stress the caution, I'm going to stress the warning again. Be very, very careful when you're driving, especially now through the 2nd to the 3rd. Always be careful, but now especially into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th of August, because again, you know, it may be something like totally out of your control. It may be something in your control. It may be nothing, but I have to issue the warning. Listen, when I was dealing with Mars Uranus, I had 2 car accidents within the span of a week. Neither was my fault. But I will say this, one of them, I should not have been driving because I was very stressed. My dad was sick, he was in the hospital, he was having surgery, and my mind was elsewhere. And I know myself enough to know that when I feel like that, I should not drive. But I had to drive. So I went, and it was not my fault, but had I been like more on my game and not as frazzled, I would have seen the other car coming and I could have avoided the whole thing. But alas, I didn't, and I ended up getting into a car accident, and luckily I was fine, but the car was not fine. And then a week later, I kid you not, I got into a car accident with the rental car. Again, somebody hit me from behind though on that one, and they were on their phone. So again, they were not paying attention. But to be honest with you, I should have honored what I felt, which was like, get a ride, don't drive. This isn't good. This isn't boding well for you. You know what's going on with your transits, but I didn't listen and I drove. And anyway, I'm not saying that's going to happen to you. I'm just saying that this is that kind of an energy. It's more likely to occur under this frenetic energy. Now, on the positive side, Uranus and the North Node are working to bring you towards your destiny, and then Mars comes in and boop, pours a little more gasoline on your inner fire, and you're like, that's it, I'm doing it, it's go time. You take action, and you end up in one of the best places you possibly can for your life, right? That's a really good high vibrational manifestation of this energy. It can be wonderful. I want to stress that. I don't want you to think I'm saying there's going to be explosions and chaos, and there might be. I'm not going to say there isn't going to be, but you know, again, let's try to keep it positive and let's not feed the fear. Let's keep it by saying, maybe there's something extremely magical waiting for me on the other side of all of this. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's minimal for you. Maybe you don't care. I don't know, but this is big energy. It's big. So it's a lot about releasing what doesn't work to bring you towards your truth, your soul, your soul's true north, your karmic mission in this lifetime, or one of them. Again, you don't have to listen to me at all, but I am going to just give a little bit of advice or a couple of suggestions. Again, take extra precautions. Don't put yourself at unnecessary risk. Still be careful, guys. There is still a pandemic going on out there, okay? It baffles me that people are just like not taking that seriously. I'm not saying to live in fear, but it is far from over, okay? So this is the time you want to be extra cautious, okay? Just be really careful. Don't take everything for granted. Watch your energy, watch who you're giving it to, watch where you're putting it, you know, watch where you're expending it. Go into soul solitude where you need to. It's going to be necessary during these times because it is going to feel tense and chaotic. Clear your schedule a little bit if you need to. Do what you can do to keep yourself in a healthier space. Again, this is basically the rest of July and early August you want to do this. Give yourself some extra care, some extra love. Turn on the music. Music is an instant vibration shifter. It's an instant mood booster, okay? It helps you to connect to what you're truly feeling because words ping us. Think about that. You hear a song on the radio that you haven't heard in 15 years and it takes you back to your friend from high school who passed away or whomever in your life that you weren't even thinking about in that moment, but that song just takes you back there and it shifts your vibration instantly. And you're sending them love or they're sending you energy, whatever it is, but music really does help and it's important. You know, if you hear a sad song that brings you to a really sad space, change the channel. You don't have to sit in it, right? No one's telling you you have to. You're in more control with that. But what you're not necessarily always in control of is when Uranus is here. Because again, it's just that energy of the watchtower getting struck by lightning. Now, fun fact, Mars and Uranus rule this card, okay? Mars is the god of war, Uranus is the god of lightning, and these two energies rule over the tarot card, the Tower. So I'm just saying it, bringing it in here because, you know, the Tower moments are what often define us. And when we look back at the big defining moments in our lives where something crazy shifted or something amazing happened, came out of something negative or destructive, those are the Tower moments, right? Those are the moments we don't forget because they can change your life in an instant. That's the Tower. That's this energy. But I want you to think about that it could be in the best way possible, in the most magical way possible, and it can put you on your path. It can set you on your path, your truest calling. Now, we've also got Jupiter stationing retrograde at the end of the month, July 28th, right around the new moon in Leo, which is actually a really nice new moon. And I'm gonna do a separate video for the new moon in Leo season because I talked a lot here and I'm like spinning from all this energy. So, you know, I probably went all over the place in this video and I apologize. I hope that it was easy for you to follow. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I do read the comments. I will answer you. Unless you ask me like insanely personal questions, I'm not answering those. But if you're asking me questions about the planets, what this means, this energy, happy to help you out there. I'm happy to answer those questions for you. Definitely check out the first video for the beginning of July. We've got a full moon on July 13th. In Capricorn. That's also in that video that I did for the beginning. I've linked that one below. Okay, now I'm going to tell you where this conjunction is taking place for you if you are not already aware of this. And I'm going to tell you this by your rising sign, okay? Now, regardless of whatever sign your rising sign is, I still want you to understand that if you're a Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius between 15 and 21 degrees, especially if that's your rising sign, but even if it's not, if it's your sun sign, your moon sign, this is applicable for you very strongly. So I'm just stressing that again. But for everyone else, I'm going to tell you where this conjunction takes place by your rising sign, what area of your chart it's going to be in. That's the area of life in which you can see some hopefully really nice magic taking place for you or something that a spiritual present that sets you on your path. So let's start with the sign of Taurus. So if you're a Taurus rising, this conjunction is going to take place in your first house, okay? The Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction is going to take place in your first house. So the way that this can work for you is you take action on something that you've been holding off on. You finally decide that now is the time to cut your hair, for example. It is the first house. The first house is our face, it's our personality, it's our body. So having this conjunction take place in the first house could be really beneficial for you because it can have you taking action and doing things in a very grounded manner because you're pushed. Maybe you get angry and you're like, now's the time I'm gonna do it. So it could be that some anger or irritation is the impetus for you to make these moves to help yourself. It could be that you decide that, you know, now's the time you need to lose 25 pounds with this conjunction in your first house, or you want to get plastic surgery on your face because you're tired of something and you want to shift it. That's it, you're doing it now. Somebody makes a comment and that's what sets you off in that direction. I'm just using this as an example, but as a bunch of examples. But when this energy hits your first house, it's not a low energy. It's a high energy, it's fast, it's momentum, but it's Taurus, and Taurus sometimes can move slowly. But I do feel for Taurus rising, because it is in the first house, this conjunction, it is forcing you into making a change that you've been sitting on, that you've wanted to do and you haven't been able to do. It's like this outside force comes in and an outside circumstance tells you, a person perhaps, they say the right comment at the right time and you're like, you know what, that is it. That's what I wanted to do today. And now I'm gonna do it. That's what I needed to hear today and now I'm gonna do it. So it can go something like this. You're a Taurus rising and you're out to dinner with a bunch of your friends and your one friend brings her 5-year-old son. This is just a fictitious little example, but to give you the analogy that would make sense here. She brings her 5-year-old son to dinner and you have always wanted to get a nose job, right? You have a deviated septum, you have trouble breathing at night, you don't like the look of your nose aesthetically, but it's not terrible, but you know you wanna maybe get a nose job, but you're terrified of having surgery, terrified of going under the knife, okay? For years and years and years, you're avoiding this because you just don't wanna deal with surgery. But yet your deviated septum is becoming more and more pronounced. You're having trouble breathing, you're having sinus trouble, yada, yada, yada. And you go to dinner with this friend during this Uranus-Mars North Node conjunction. And you're just eating, having a good time. And your friend's son turns to you and says, lady, you have a huge nose. And you're like, oh, that's it. I'm booking the surgery tomorrow. I don't care about the anesthesia. I'm doing it. That kid was Mars. And that's bringing you towards your true north, which in this case would be to get a nose job. It's the first house, so it's physical. This is why I bring it up. And again, when we're dealing with the first house is the house that's naturally ruled by Mars. Regardless of the fact that you're a Taurus rising, Mars rules the first house. So anything that falls in the first house is going to take on a Mars-like energy, a Mars-like quality, and would perhaps be more assertive than it would be in a different place in the chart, okay? Gemini rising. For the Gemini rising folks, this conjunction is going to take place in your 12th house. Now, the 12th house is behind the scenes, okay? This is the place that can make us feel very exhausted. It is the last house in the wheel. It's a very spiritual place, and a lot of times the things that happen in the 12th house don't take place publicly, they take place behind closed doors. They take place behind the scenes, behind the curtain. These are the things that maybe no one else will see about you or know are happening, but you know they're happening because they're extremely deep and psychically driven and spiritually driven and psychologically intense. And it could feel very jarring, especially for Gemini risings, because Gemini risings are typically very extroverted and they thrive off of communication. And again, dependent on what else is going on in your chart, that may or may not be the case for you if you're a Gemini rising, but more than likely if you're a Gemini rising, you are very expressive, you like to talk, you like to communicate, you like to express. And when you've got this going through your 12th house, you may feel like that all takes a back seat and something's going on that just doesn't feel comfortable to you, almost like, when is the other shoe gonna drop? Plus, when Mars goes into your 12th house, you tend to get more tired physically because think about it, the planet of assertion and drive is tucked into your 12th house. But with Uranus and the North Node, it could still jolt that energy and still bring you to a space where now you're being forced to do some form of healing, okay? On the other side of that, if we want to go with a more negative connotation to this, which we certainly can, the 12th house is also the house of hidden things, hidden enemies. And so you may find some information out that has been going on for quite some time, that you felt things were one way, and then you found out that somebody in your tribe, somebody close to you, maybe even a family member, was actually working against you behind the scenes. And yes, that will be very hurtful, but it will probably be very liberating for you, and you'll be able to put something to bed that needs to go, especially if it's involving a relationship. But it is the 12th house, so it's not gonna feel, again, it might not be this big in-your-face energy, but you're gonna feel this, Gemini rising, because again, it's the 12th house. It's a very nebulous space. And with Mars here, again, starting now, leading up to this, just give your body a little extra rest, because again, Gemini risings tend to be like, you know, very energetic, and when you crash hard. So give yourself a little extra rest and all should be well, and hopefully this conjunction reveals something beautiful to you that sets you on your path and that helps your soul to sing. Cancer rising, this conjunction takes place in your 11th house. The 11th house is groups, friendships, associations, online communities that we're a part of, other kinds of group events that we become a part of, the things we do to help serve Humanity also falls under the 11th house. So having this conjunction in your 11th house, I feel that this is a strong emphasis on your friendships and the groups that you're a part of. And you can get some really awesome opportunities through these avenues, through your friends. Maybe a friend of yours comes in with this amazing job opportunity and you're like, whoa, that came out of left field, that came out of nowhere. Well, you deserve it, so go for it, right? And you probably would never think this could be possible to land this dream job, but your friend, your colleague, whomever it is, comes in and basically says, hey, I got this great opportunity. Do you want it? And you're like, yeah, I want it. That's how this conjunction can take place for the Cancer rising folks. Could also be brand new friend comes out of the blue into your life and it's very fated and very karmic and you've been depressed for years because you don't feel like you have a true friend that understands you. And then all of a sudden this, this conjunction comes through and brings in maybe more than one because it's the 11th house, which is all about groups. So this is really a beautiful energy for Cancer risings about finding your tribe, finding where you fit in and finding things that you're doing for the betterment of your soul, but also for the betterment of humanity. So I actually feel like for the Cancer risings, this is going to be really beneficial. I think for everyone it is in some capacity, but probably less disruptive than it may be for other signs. But there still could be a disruption in the groups and friendships that you're a part of, but all for for the greater good, all for the betterment of you. Now, Leo rising, this conjunction is going to take place in your 10th house. Now remember, the 10th house is public. This is our public face, this is our reputation, this is what we do out in the world, and this is our legacy, this is what we want to be known for, and this is what we are known for, okay? Again, reputation. Also can be like career changes that happen here. So when you've got this conjunction taking place in your 10th house, I think this could be very positive, especially if you've been stuck in a rut. Now, the 10th house is also our status. So you may find under this energy that you're ready to end something once and for all, or the universe comes in and sends something to you that serves it to you on a platter, Leo, and basically says, I have to get out of here. I have to. And so that could also happen. But either way, this energy, I feel, is very liberating for the Leo risings. And the true essence of a Leo, especially Leo rising, is to live out of the heart space and to have courage and to go forth fearlessly. And it's a big lesson for Leo risings, and it's not always easy. You would think because it's Leo, it's like they're used to shining because they're ruled by the sun. But in actuality, a lot of Leo risings step out of that, okay? When they're supposed to step into that. And so having this conjunction in a very public place, in a public space in your chart and in your life can be really, really good for you because it can elevate you. And it might do it though by way of disruption. So for example, you can't stand your job and you have a friend there, a coworker, whatever, and they send an email that you sent to them accidentally to your boss, and it's really not a good email and you get fired. Meanwhile, you were searching for another job anyway and you couldn't wait to get out of there, but you couldn't do it. And now the universe basically says, poof, bye, you're gone. And now you have no choice but to go and find another job. And maybe, because Leos are very creative, maybe you always wanted to be a woodworker because that's your hobby and your passion, and you didn't think you could ever do it full time. And now this comes in, this job comes in, you go on unemployment, and you're like, well, now's the best time for me to go in my garage and start that little woodworking side business that I've always wanted, and it ends up liberating your soul. This is how that can work for you in the most positive way. Virgo rising, this conjunction takes place in your 9th house. The 9th house is all about philosophy, higher learning, higher education, long distance travel, the expansion of the higher mind. So having this conjunction taking place in the 9th house for you, Virgo rising, could be a really nice opportunity comes in for you to do something different. And I feel like, Virgo is a sign that tends to be somewhat of a perfectionist and very critical and hard on themselves. And so, maybe you don't think you could ever release control to go on a pilgrimage, to go on a journey, to go to a foreign land, to go on a retreat. And then all of a sudden, this conjunction comes in and you get this opportunity to go to Portugal or to go to Greece. I'm just throwing this out there, but somewhere you wouldn't normally think to go, and you feel this push, this calling in your soul to expand, to rise higher, to go take that 3-month course in architecture in Greece. Whatever it is, this conjunction can bring in a really good opportunity for you to finally see how you can release the control to move forward towards something that is a passion of yours and something that will help you grow and expand and bust out of a rut. It could also be that something comes in to challenge your belief system, to totally shake up what you once thought to be true, because the 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius and it's all about truth. So having this conjunction there too, there's something here about I need to find the truth out, and you may just get that truth, but it might not be the truth that you were expecting. Again, it's Uranus, so whatever it is, it's still unexpected, but yet at the same time, it does what it needs to do for your soul to give you some sense of freedom. So if somebody challenges your belief system or challenges your faith, don't get defensive about it. Just go inward and see, can I shift my belief system under this energy? Because honestly, that's what this is all about. It's about change. I know Virgos don't really love change, even though they're a mutable sign, Virgo risings, but still, change is the name of the game right now. And the more you can lean into it and look at the bigger lesson, the higher picture, this is going to go much smoother. Libra rising, this conjunction takes place in your 8th house. Now, the 8th house, much like the 12th house, is a water house, so it's extremely emotional, okay? And the 8th house is also extremely psychological. This is the house of Pluto. This is the house of Scorpio. This is the house of death, sex, rebirth, the deep stuff. It's about intimacy. It's about bonding. It's about grief and loss. It's about all of those things that we stuff down and bury because they're not pretty. They don't feel good most of the time. And so, psychotherapy falls under 8th house energy. And so when you're dealing with this conjunction here, you may get the push to do some really deep psychological analysis that could really truly liberate you and set your soul free. Now, this might not feel so comfortable for Libra rising because you want to maybe skim the surface and just keep moving and to intellectualize it and say it is what it is, but this conjunction won't allow you to do that. It's going to bring things in that force you. They serve it up on the platter. This conjunction is going to serve it up on the platter. So if you've been avoiding some sort of traumatic experience that keeps replaying in your mind, it's more than likely that you will be sparked by another person in your life or an energy or a job or something that brings it all back up again. And you may feel like you're crumbling if you're Libra rising, but don't lean into the crumble. Lean into the healing. That's the most important thing because it's the 8th house. It wants you to transcend, to come up higher. And you can only do that by going through those dark nights of the soul that the 8th house promises us. Now, on the positive side, the 8th house is also money. It's other people's money. It's people that give us loans. And so if it's also inheritances. So if you have this conjunction in the 8th house, perhaps through the loss of someone or something, you end up gaining some financial security and stability, an inheritance of sorts, a windfall. Maybe you're going to go gambling and you get unexpected money. It could also bring in very positively a windfall out of nowhere. So it's not negative, okay? None of this is negative, I want to be clear. It could feel psychologically draining, but it could also bring in something really beautiful for you that helps to set you free. But the key is if you're a Libra rising, Libra risings are very graceful. Libra's ruled by Venus. So if you're a Libra rising, that makes your chart ruler Venus. So there's something very graceful about Libra rising. It's not a look per se, but it's an energy, it's a charisma. It's like they have something. They have a it factor. And so with that, I want to issue this warning to Libra rising, and it's because you're so gracious, because you're very beautiful beings energetically that we all are, but Libra risings are very, I don't know, there's just something about that. If you're a Libra rising, let me know if you're resonating with this. But because of the fact that I already mentioned several times to be very mindful as we move on throughout July and go into August, extra mindful of your surroundings. Because the 8th house can also sometimes represent violence or unexplained things and the occult and death and all that stuff. For the Libra risings, I'm going to just issue that warning a little stronger to be extra mindful of your surroundings under this energy. It can't hurt to do so, right? I'm just the friendly astrologer trying to help everyone out here, okay? It's not that I'm predicting something to happen. It's just, again, a little more mindfulness will really go a long way with this energy. Scorpio rising, this conjunction takes place in your 7th house. The house of other people, the house of our relationships. It's the marriage house, it's contracts, it's mutuality, it's sharing. But it's not just, it's all relationships. It's not just romantic, it's platonic, it's business, it's your friend, not necessarily friends, but the people that you are in contract with, where you're doing things together with them, especially when it comes to business. And now having the conjunction taking place in the 7th house, while the South Node is also in Scorpio, Scorpio risings are getting really jolted with release energy. There's a lot of karmic baggage surrounding relationships and connections in your reality that you are dealing with. If you're a Scorpio rising, you have been clearing karma like a badass, okay? You have been. and you can't help it. And every time you feel like something goes really well, it's like there's another karmic situation that comes in out of left field, and it's like, oh, now I got to deal with this again. That might be more of the puzzle here when we go to this conjunction in the 7th house for you, because it's not forcing you, but the universe wants you to see what isn't working and what could work better and what you might need to do to get there. And if you haven't been heeding the lessons and taking the advice, Uranus will probably do it for you. But remember, Uranus always leaves you better than you're found once the dust settles. And so if you look back on it, you'll probably look back on it and say, you know what, that needed to happen. That was a necessary ending. Now, on the positive side, great relationships and connections can come in under this energy that have a very fated quality to them. So we want to look at the bright side of this and hope that the relationships we are involved in, the connections that we are involved in, are for our greater good and that are for the betterment of our soul. But we do still need to be releasing the karmic stuff, the karmic baggage, the karmic relationships, the stuff that we know is done, but yet we're having a hard time letting go of, okay? Scorpio risings don't let go easily. However, you might be forced to in certain circumstances under this energy. But again, some really great things can come out of it for you. Sagittarius rising, this conjunction takes place in your 6th house of daily routines, health, service, habits, also your day-to-day working environment. So if you have this conjunction taking place there, your habits can go under a huge change. Your health routine can go under a huge change. Maybe you finally decide that, you develop some weird stomach situation and now you completely change your diet and it does wonders for your life in general. That could be the way that this energy unfolds for you. It could also be that your daily job, your daily life changes dramatically under this energy. And that's great if you've been wanting that to happen. You can get a great opportunity for you seemingly out of nowhere, especially if you work in the hospital. I'm just picking that up. Especially if you work in the hospital and you're a Sagittarius rising or somewhere in the medical field, there's definitely something about like, gosh, I want to get out of here, but I can't. Where am I going to make this money again? And then all of a sudden this amazing opportunity opens up in a different state. And Sagittarius risings, one of their karmic lessons is to live up into expansion and to travel and to be more free and to be more open. And so yeah, have the optimism that this is going to work out great for you and go where the current takes you with this Sagittarius rising, because I feel like it will be really nice for you. Now on the flip side, you can also get fired and end up on a totally different trajectory when it comes to your work, but either way, it's going to be better for you. It's going to bring you more into your truth. And Sagittarius is the sign of truth. Capricorn rising, this conjunction takes place in your 5th house. The 5th house is the house of our creative energy. It's our romance, it's children, it's our life force, it's the way that we play, it's the way that we have fun. It's the way that we express ourselves. And Capricorn rising, I love Capricorn energy. Capricorn rising tend to be very mature from a very young age. They're always looking at the bigger picture. They're always wanting to climb. They're always wanting to ascend higher, especially when it comes to their career. They always want to do the right thing and be good. And this conjunction, I feel, is going to be really good for the Capricorn risings because I think it's going to shake you out of a rut, especially when it comes to romance. If you're on the market, if you're out there looking, you may find a really great option for you and have some fun. Go with it. This is really going to be, I think, for the Capricorn risings that have been stuck in a rut, really going to shake it up for you, and you can get some really nice presents here. And for those of you that have been trying to conceive, if that has not been happening, you may find that you get pregnant with twins or triplets or something of that nature under this kind of an energy. You just never know, right? You never know. But I think this is going to manifest in the highest way possible for the Capricorn risings if you go with the current and you don't try to block it. Because again, there's a very serious energy with Capricorn rising. Like, I can't do that. No way. I have to finish. I always joke about Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. It's like the dad that makes you eat all the peas off your dish before you get off the table. That's Capricorn rising too. It's like, I can't do that unless I finish this. Well, we're dealing with Uranus, so the energy comes in quick and it's long lasting. So it's what you do with it that sets you up for the future. So use the energy wisely, okay? Because I really, really feel it's going to really shake you up and shake you out and bring you into a space you're not used to, but it's going to be wonderful for you. Aquarius rising, this conjunction takes place in your 4th house. So the 4th house is a very private place in our birth chart, okay? It's at the bottom of the chart. It rules over our family, our roots, our home, our security, our foundation. It's emotional. It's also the house of the mother, of the feminine energies in our life. And so when you have this conjunction taking place, there's so many different ways this can manifest, but maybe you do through Ancestry.com or 23andMe. And I mean, I'll tell you, I have a lot of clients that are Aquarius Rising, by the way, that are actually going through, I just realized that as I said this, actually going through what I'm about to mention, where you're looking for a sibling that you found out you had and you couldn't find, a long lost sibling, and you find them and it's like, poof, mind blown, I didn't know that. This is that kind of an energy where if you go digging into your ancestry, you may find something out really shocking, but you know, is it the shocking that we like or the shocking that we don't like? Well, we don't know, and that's the beauty of this conjunction. That's the beauty of this energy, is that whatever it is, it might be very unexpected, but again, liberating. So it could also be a total change of home, change of residency. You can move, you can decide that you're gonna excavate your house and build it back up, you know? Changing the home environment, that could also be under this conjunction with the 4th house. So there's other ways that this can take place too. It could be a shakeup to your financial, your security, your home base for whatever the reason. Maybe a storm comes in and takes your roof off, and now you get not only a whole new roof, but they build something else for you in your home that you are getting through insurance because of something weather related. That's also how Uranus can work in the 4th house, because it is the house of the home. But you will definitely feel this energy in the areas of family, in the areas of the home, in the areas of your security and of your foundation. And let's remember that family is not always our family of origin. It could also be the chosen family, the people that we choose to be family amongst our other family members. Pisces Rising, this conjunction takes place in your 3rd house of siblings and cousins and those that are like siblings and cousins, the people in our community, the people that we see, you know, regularly, like neighbors, fall under the 3rd house energy. It's also the house of communication. It's the house of expression. It's the house of short-term travel and also education. So Pisces Rising, this could be really creative energy for you if you're some kind of a writer and you want to do some sort of writing project or intuitive work that helps you to communicate. This is a wonderful conjunction for that type of an energy. If you want to reestablish a relationship, a broken relationship with a sibling or a cousin or someone like that in your life or who was like that in your life, this conjunction can bring in a surprise visit from them or a phone call, or you yourself could be the one that has a shocking revelation and decides to reach out. But there's something about a real strong reconnection energy with this conjunction for the Pisces Rising. And even if that reconnection is about reconnection to self, right? Reconnection to the soul, because that's Pisces. Pisces is very soulful, very soul driven. So it may just be getting reacquainted with you, with what's really going on there. Maybe it could feel very poetic, and maybe it actually is poetic, maybe it's poetry, but whatever it is, I do feel this conjunction for the Pisces Rising. It does unlock something that needs to be unlocked, that's been tucked away for you to help your expression. It could also manifest like you taking a short distance trip by car, because the 3rd house is car, vehicle, transportation, taking a short distance trip with your sister or with a cousin or, you know, someone like that. It could be a fun little trip that you take. That's also how this can manifest, an unexpected trip or an unexpected little journey. And last but certainly not least, our Aries Rising. This conjunction takes place for you in your 2nd house of finances and self-worth and what you value and your resources. And so having this conjunction here, again, like the 8th house, it could be all about an unexpected positive windfall of money. Maybe you get an extra check that you didn't know that you were due to get. Could also be a real estate transaction that you were not expecting that takes place with this conjunction. You get this great opportunity. And if you're a realtor, I would say even more so this applies to you if you are an Aries Rising and you're a realtor, you're in that real estate field. I think this could be beautiful for you about expanding your network, about expanding your base. Maybe you get licensed in another state if that's something that you've always wanted to do. And now this conjunction comes in and it stirs things up and you're like, I'm ready to do this, you know? Could be really great, but I feel like there's a lot of financial opportunity here for the Aries Rising, but it is going to require you to take a chance. Now, Aries in general is a sign that typically will take chances because Aries is the trailblazer. But I will say when it's an Aries Rising, unless they're also an Aries Sun, when it's Aries Rising, you look at the rising sign like the school that you're a student of. for life, right? And so you're constantly learning and evolving the traits of your rising sign, of every placement, but more so of your rising sign. And so if you're an Aries rising, like I always tell my Aries rising clients, if they're going through something difficult, I'm like, come on, you're an Aries rising. You have that fire in you for a reason. And sometimes it's just those words, it's that little push that they need to remind them how powerful they are. Because Aries is a powerful sign. It's courageous. It goes after what it wants. It's cardinal fire. So if you are an Aries rising, you are going to get opportunities, but you're going to be stretched to take them. And this is where the karma of the Aries rising energy really shines through for you. So take the opportunities, even if they shake you up, even if they shake up your life, they're going to set you on your course, and you're probably going to be really happy with the end result, even if in the moments that things are breaking down to break through, it might be uncomfortable. But I guarantee you'll come out the other side of that and you'll feel so like the true warrior that Aries is known to be. Okay, so those are all 12 signs. Those are where the conjunctions are going to take place for you by your rising sign. So make sure, let me know how this works out for you if anything comes to comes to fruition. And remember, it's not just going to be July and August. It's a 15-year cycle here. Things that happen set you up for the next cycle of life. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I also think sometimes we approach this kind of an energy with trepidation because we know it's big and we always will feel that on the soul level. We'll feel the shakeup. We'll feel like something's coming. We don't know what it is, and that's the scary thing, but that's also the beautiful thing. So I invite you to vibe on that what you want to attract, that what you want to bring in, and try really hard to not vibe on that what you do not want. Just keep it on what you do want, right? I know that's hard to do, especially when something's very deep, but that's precisely when you need to do the work even harder to get to that space where you're just putting out there what it is that you do want, okay? Take really good care of yourselves. Again, rest, take breaks, don't overload your schedule. I don't care what sign you are. The energy is frenetic, okay? I know you're all feeling it. I'm feeling it. It's a lot. It's a lot, a lot, a lot. It's very emotional. It's very high charged. It feels very, I don't know, uncomfortable. That's the only way that I can say it. And even forgetting about what's happening collectively, that's all. I mean, that's a lot of it, of course, but personally too, it's a lot. So again, just take care of yourself. It's the best that we can do right now, and be good, be well, okay guys? Take care, bye.